Karen Powell. I am the founder and CEO of Omnipresence, which is a sales AI and also sales readiness advisory firm. So the reason I do it is because I started off my career looking after tech and helping to scale tech businesses and full go-to-market spectrum, and thought that the next place of transformation in the go-to-market tech stack was really in the sales transformation space. So really wanted to focus my time on that.
Amazing. Amazing. So what's the biggest problem that you've seen in the last week from people that you're engaging with? What's the main thing that you're noticing today?
Yeah, so the main thing from a lot of the customers here, one is that understanding of what go-to-market is, understanding how to use AI to contribute to their productivity, and also how to get the stakeholder buy-in. So they're really having a hard time figuring out how to articulate what it is that they need, and also the use cases and business cases that they're trying to uncover.
Okay. So what would be a question someone could ask, or an introductory statement that somebody could use to try to uncover some of these insights?
So what we've been trying to get people here to do is to, one, identify what their company is trying to ultimately achieve. So what's the ultimate end goal when you think of the chairman or you think of the CEO? What is the business ambition? And then how is what you're doing helping to achieve that ambition? So it's the standard application of the way you would normally do business consulting, but then applying that more to AI. So if there was one question, it was, what is it in this company that you're trying to achieve, and how can AI help to unlock that? And so if they have then 4 or 5 core lanes of where the business is trying to achieve things, then it's, what are you doing today? And what AI applications might be able to move the needle forward from a scale, not only just an impact, right? Because they need to look at cost, they need to look at impact. So instead of looking at small things that might not move the needle, what might move the needle significantly for them?
And a lot of the people, I mean, with tech changing so much every week and every month, every year, you know, a lot of the time people might not know what they don't know, right? How do you educate and act as that consultant, as that advisor? How do you open up that opportunity to teach someone? What's a way that somebody could apply teaching if they perhaps don't know the answer to what AI applications are available to them?
So there's 2 ways that we're looking at that. So the first way is helping people by running workshops. If their founding team and their exec team want to make sure that their team are well knowledgeable, we will try to support them with workshops, which is helping them to be ready. What that means is, one, asking them in their day job. We're finding people are very fearful, at least in Australia and across Asia Pacific. There's a little bit more fear and apprehension. So it's trying to find a comfortable space where we're running a workshop with themselves and their other team members, finding out where they find passion in their day job. What do they love to do about in their day job? And outside of that day job, so it's, yes, this is what I love, but what's getting in the way of that are these 5 things. And so then we look to apply AI to those 3 or 5 things that are getting in the way so that they can do more of what they love in their day job. The second way that we're helping, so that's more uncovering where they find that they can use AI, helping to educate them on what's existing, where they want to see it change their life and help their productivity gains. The second way is we're starting to develop more hands-on labs, so go-to-market hands-on labs in AI in sales, AI in service, and AI in marketing. And those labs are really helping people to identify, what does AI in go-to-market even mean? So what is AI in marketing currently? What does the tech stack currently look like? Which of the current tech stack, whether it's the core, the emerging, or the completely newborn firms, what exactly is it that they have infused? So we walk people through those kind of 5 key items, doing a few little demos in there so that they learn what's in the stack, what has now infused AI. And then we look at, well, how can they advance that from a use case perspective? So based on what they've learned, where are the use cases that they can best apply? And then from those use cases, what business case can they put to their company so that they can get more leverage?
It sounds like I kind of want to go to one of those.
They're really great. And so there's not many people running those globally. A lot of people are running them from a deeper tech perspective and not yet really from a very much functional based. We're seeing a lot more of those popping up from industry. So where there might be AI in healthcare, AI in finance. So we're seeing them more as industry specific. We're not seeing as many that are role based. So we're looking at it from a role based perspective.
I love it. So let's say you're a individual contributor, you're a manager, you're a director, you're whatever, and you're like, it's a down part of the year or the quarter where you're not overly busy and you'd love to innovate, right? How can you initiate one of these labs? How do you make sure you've got a checklist so that you have a productive session? And who should you bring along? Should we engage you? Should we? What are some of the questions that we could do to create one of these labs?
So the way that we've been more so creating those labs is one, just reaching out to me via message, and we'll put those together for you and your team. We've been looking at now for August. We're going to be running those more so from an industry perspective. So being able to crowdsource from a number of different industry players instead of just running them company by company, because people do want to share a lot more with their peers in this environment and learn what other companies are doing and also what everybody's putting into their tech stacks. So in August, that's one of the things that we'll be running mainly for the sales, so AI in sales. But the type of questions that you should be asking yourself is, one, do I understand AI right now? If you don't, then it's a perfect time to run a course and get some understanding and knowledge around what's possible. Do I know what my existing platforms have to offer me? If I don't, can I get a lab to run demos, or should I just get all the vendors in? Sometimes it takes a lot more time to get all of those vendors in and to organize them so that you can see what the vendors are currently doing that can help your productivity gains and that has AI infused. And then 3, what are those use cases or point solutions that I haven't really looked at that might give me some additional gains? And so if you don't feel that you've got those 3 things covered, then you're likely going to need to find one facilitator that can bring that knowledge to you and to your team.
Awesome. All right. So let's say I would love for one of these things to happen, but there's nothing on the roadmap, but I'm geeking out all the time on all these different AI applications. How can me as an individual contributor build a business case for one of these labs? What questions can I ask? What applications should I bring forward? How should I start bringing the right team members together so that we can have a successful lab?
Yes. So if you're an individual contributor, most of the time, both boards and exec teams are all wanting their teams to be educated. So there is in most companies an educational L&D team that's happy to give money or funding per quarter for the uplift, and especially for short courses, because sometimes there's a lot of long tail courses that might take 3 months or 6 months to complete, and they're far more expensive. So they might be happier for you to do a one-off day lab. So that's one, is how much time will the company allow for you for training? How much money will they allow for training and education? 2, how does the company want to see that implemented? So there's one thing for you to do it for your own personal career and your own personal aspirations. But if you're doing it within a company to be able to bring your team along, it's more so what's the mission again of the company, and how can this then, as part of that business case to get it approved, how is this going to be able to further the ambitions of the company? And most of the time, the ambition of the company is that they want to drive productivity gains, they want to drive revenue gains. And so anything right now, as far as a board initiative and board mission, they do want to see people taking flying the flag of being able to get a lot more AI skill sets into the organization and into the team. So if you show initiative in being able to put together, again, this is the mission of the company, put a sentence in there, this is the mission, this is what we've got as our annual plan, even as an individual contributor, this is what I've heard as our annual plan, this is the way that my role normally contributes to that. I feel that if I'm AI educated, that I'm able to move the needle in these 3 ways by doing this program.
Love that. I love that. I feel like you could almost host one of those sessions every quarter, like all the new applications that are coming out. Every 3 months there's some drastic change that's happened, especially with AI. But any kind of this fun new fun new tech. What have been some of the more interesting labs that you've run? What have been some of the cool creations that you've seen come out of something like this?
Well, the smaller labs, I find that people are not necessarily wanting to create really new cool stuff out of these labs. What they're wanting to know is, based on what I already have, where am I not seeing the gains? And I can see that we've got some amazing Australians on this call with us as well that are based here. And so that's one of the key things that I'm seeing, is that people want to know, what am I not getting out of my existing platform? So if they're currently using Salesforce, or if they're currently using Navigator, or if they're currently using 6 Sense, what they're not realizing is where the infusion of AI is that can give them some uplift. So I find it's more baseline knowledge tends to be more of what we're doing, and then sharing with them some of the cool platforms that are coming. But I do find that most of them so far, from a business case, can't get the approvals up for testing and experimenting with those kind of seedling businesses. I think I've mentioned previously, there's a company called Relevance AI, Australian-based company. And what they're doing is they are really leveraging having an AI workforce. And so if you need to supplement your team, they are building out an AI workforce for organizations and for businesses. So, but again, that's something that will take a long time for companies to be able to adopt.
Very cool. Relevance AI. So they're building agents for each kind of role, and then sliding that in.
Exactly. And there's a lot of those on the market at the moment. I think we've all seen, there's, I think at least 600 that I've seen, even just in that SDR, BDR space. But again, a lot of people haven't yet adopted in this region. They're starting to now, but across the US, there's more adoption of trialing that SDR motion.
Yeah. So as a contributor, you might notice, okay, maybe in a year, 2 years, 3 years, like you said, it'll take a bit of time for these things to come to fruition. But in the meantime, how can individual contributors take advantage of some of these platforms and perhaps make their job easier, automated, or scaled up? Like what tools could you recommend to individuals while management is trying to figure out their big time, long-term strategy?
So I guess it just depends on what type of business you're actually running. As a startup, you often, so if you're looking at more individual contributors that are in a startup lane and looking at how they're going to start to scale a business, you have to look at platforms that, one, don't cost a lot from a licensing perspective. So I'm using platforms like ClickUp, I'm using platforms like Quiller, using platforms like UI Izzard. So those type of platforms are really helping me to get some really fast gains to get to market. And then you have other platforms like Follis and Seismic. Those are a little bit more expensive. To get something like a Seismic up will be far more expensive to do. But I find that the platform cost, this is the thing, as an individual contributor, if you don't have the backing of your seniors within the company and the CFO, you may not, or the CIO, it might be hard to get those licenses approved. And you have to also be very careful of privacy and what you're doing from a governance perspective. So I would suggest to most individual contributors, unless you've got the blessing of the company to use it, we don't want to run shadow, the same way we did run shadow IT when it came to marketing services. AI and running a bit of a shadow play there is a lot more tricky, given the level of organizational knowledge that you may have to share. So I would suggest using it in your personal life first. So if you have any side hustles, I would suggest more so experimenting with your personal side hustles so that you can, experiment, figure out how to use it. And then based on that, you can then bring the use case in. If you're an individual contributor and you haven't got any, sponsors in the business that are happy for you to experiment within the company.
Very helpful. Very helpful. I'm just cautious that I don't have enough time with you. And so I was thinking, if you could give one last juicy mango tip, what would that be? What would be your juicy mango tip?
Juicy mango tip would be, I think if you're in marketing and sales and have already been a part of this journey, don't ever think that you don't have the skill sets, because there's a number of people that will say that you don't have the skills and you don't know what you're doing. The reality is most of us have been on a modern marketing or modern sales journey for a long time and utilizing tech in our businesses. This is just a slight variation, and don't allow people to tell you that that it's not possible and not achievable. I do hear that a lot, that people are feeling like they've got a state of FOMO and that they're missing out. And my tip would be, you're not. You're at the beginning and you have got a lot of skill set that is highly applicable in this space.
Super helpful. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you
You're
for taking
welcome.
the time. We appreciate you. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.